Now, I'm really excited to introduce our next speakers. First up, we have Bri Harmon, better known as Bri. She is a television host covering all things entertainment, culture, career, and lifestyle. Bri has hosted events and special content for Sean Combs' Revolt TV network, where she interviewed celebs like DJ Khaled, Christian Combs, and Justin Combs. Bri is the founder of the What Women Need Expo and conference series. Combined, its in-person and virtual events have brought together hundreds of women and dozens of vendors. A native of West Palm Beach, Florida, Bri graduated from Florida A&M University with a degree in broadcast journalism and was on-air personality for WANM 90.5 radio. As a mom to two young girls, Bri has also created the Millennial Mommies Club, which will soon launch as a podcast. So welcome, Bri. She's going to be joined in conversation with Leslie Borrell, who is the founder and CEO of Carefully. After a 20-year career as a technology and product leader for industry-leading companies, including Etsy, Travelocity, and ThoughtWorks, Leslie followed her passion and founded Carefully, a cooperative platform for parents to build trusted networks for sharing care and hosting playdates. Carefully is on a mission to change how we think about childcare to make it more affordable, accessible, and inclusive. So thank you for joining us today, Leslie. They're going to be interviewed by our amazing moderator, Mariella Marie. Mariella is a Renaissance woman and social impact multimedia producer who has spent a decade working with diverse technologists, independent artists, and divergent innovators across the globe to deepen their audience's emotional intelligence. She has shared the virtual stage with disruptive leaders such as Deepak Chopra, Ra Goddess, Catherine Zaleski, and many more. And she curates meaningful conversations and installations centered around belonging, amplifies underserved and underheard voices, and develops provocative initiatives that bridge our shared stories and connect us to an enlightened state of awareness. She also has killer style. So, Mariella, I'm going to turn the stage over to you. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Meg. Thank you, Power to Fly, for that beautiful introduction. And thank you for facilitating this conversation. Full transparency here, I am not a parent, but this is a topic that I fully support, that I'm super, super interested in and sharing with our community because it takes a village, right? Enough said. With that said, I just want to pass the mic to our guest speakers so that they can let us know a little bit more about themselves. Meg gave a beautiful introduction, but I just want to pick their brains a little more while I got them here on the line with us. I do want to flag folks who are listening live and let you know that we want to hear from you. So if any questions or reflections or dreams or tips and tricks of your own come up in this next 30 minutes, we would love to hear from you. Bri, can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and anything you want to let us know about some of the cool projects you're working on, like the Millennial Mommies Club? Oh, and then you're on mute, just so you know.
That needs to come off to be able to share my experiences, huh? So I want to first say hi and thank Power to Fly for this awesome conversation. That's very important right now, especially being a mom in this new digital age as a parent. But with that being said, so I am Bri Harmon. That was a beautiful introduction about myself. Currently, I am producing a podcast, the Millennial Mommies Club, and this podcast means so much to me. When I found out about Leslie and I went and started looking at her Carefully app, it was like, wow, I definitely have to bring this on the podcast because we're talking about everything millennials. We're talking about what it's like right now transitioning with the pandemic. I actually had a pandemic baby. So being able to say what that was like, we're talking about postpartum depression. We're having those conversations about single parents and double households or maybe blended families. We're talking about so many things that occur in our generation for times and years ago, but also currently. Just to be able to have that open conversation and relate to other moms, because I think sometimes we feel, or I have felt that I can't talk to anybody. I can't share. Am I going to be judged? Are they going to say something? Am I going to be mom shamed about the way I do it? So to be able to have this open conversation and relate with other women about it, that's all the Millennial Mommies Club is about. And me, I don't mind sharing my age, 25 years old. So being a millennial, being young, I recognize that there's a lot of peers of mine that are in the same situation or dealing with those things. So with the Millennial Mommies Club podcast, that's really all we're talking about, everything mom and everything that we go through, because like you said, it takes a village and it takes a lot of work to raise some babies.
Absolutely. Bri, congratulations on all the fantastic things you're working on. I'm totally looking forward to supporting. Leslie, let's move on to you. Would love to know anything you're working on. Let us know about the Carefully app. What inspired you to start the app?
Sure, and I'm excited to be here, excited to talk to Bri and you. I started Carefully, I guess almost 5 years ago when my son was 3. I'm a single mom. I was a single mom then. My son is very extroverted, always wants somebody to play with. I'm more introverted, not really out there socializing with the moms, but really, need a break sometimes. And so as a technologist, as somebody that's used to building things and solving problems with technology, I thought there had to be a way to solve my problems with technology. As I started looking to have play dates, my son was old enough, I realized that parents would come over and you had to entertain parents while the kids were having play dates. For me, that was an extra level of stress as a single parent. I didn't have as much in common with them, and sometimes I just needed a break. And so that's how I started Carefully several years ago. When I decided to, it was really a side project. And when I decided to kind of dig into it more at the beginning of last year, and the pandemic kind of took center stage and everything went haywire, I realized it was a much more meaningful project, not really just a side project. And things have evolved and in a different direction. And I feel like it's got a lot more meaning. It can really help underserved, marginalized groups get access affordable care, and it can help us connect with our communities. It can help me feel more comfortable and feel like I'm connecting with parents in my communities in ways that I didn't feel comfortable before, and also help my kids have play dates, right? So that's what that's sort of what inspired me then, and what continues to inspire me now, because I have a bigger mission than just sort of this side project, which is still important, but I like to work on sort of a bigger mission when I'm dedicated to it more full time. So, and I'm excited to hear more about what other people are doing and what they're thinking of, and in this digital age that we're in today, and as we come out of the pandemic, hopefully.
Absolutely. Thank both of you for that thorough introduction. Let's jump right in and start talking about technology. So I just want to hear from both of you, your opinion, straight up, as transparent as you can, some of the frustrations that you find in the realm of technology while being a parent, and also some of the rewards and the gifts that you find as well, so that we can then kind of set the stage for our conversation today.
Leslie, I don't know.
I can definitely start because my son, my son's a little bit older. He's 9 now, so I'm definitely struggling with the balance of technology, especially coming through the pandemic. It was, to be honest, I think that technology was very much a lifesaver for us, especially, again, I'll go back to this extrovert kid a lot. When we started, it allowed our kids to stay connected to their friends. He started using Roblox, he started using Facebook Messenger. The kids all got connected, and they were able to stay connected at the beginning of the quarantine. And it was really actually a great asset to have as parents. It allowed them to feel like they were connected. And then, over time, it became a challenge, right? Because that's all they wanted to do, because it is very addictive. And it's very difficult to walk that balance and understand, because there's so much in society telling us that technology is bad and screen time is bad. There's a lot of imaginative play and socializing that went on during COVID through technology. And as a parent, and as a single parent that's trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong, I struggle with it a lot. And I talk to other parents, and we're all struggling, because you see your kids getting addicted, and all they want to do is be on the screen, and it's a constant battle, and you don't want to have that battle, but that technology is the reality of the world, and so they have to learn how to cope with it. And so it becomes it really takes over some of your conversations. So I don't have all the answers, but I'm constantly trying new tricks and techniques to teach my son how to manage his screen time himself, because I know that he's going to have to deal with it as he gets into the real world.
And I think on my behalf, I have a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. So for me, it's a love-hate relationship because you get mom shamed. They're too young to know how to use a phone. They're too young to have an iPad, but it's a lifesaver as well with potty training. I can sit my 2-year-old on the toilet and give her the iPad, let her watch it for about 30 minutes to an hour just to try to get her to get going. So it has its pros and its cons. I wouldn't say I love it. I wouldn't say I hate it. And because mine are younger, it's a battle because, like you said, the screen time. Is it too much for her eyes? Is she too young? Should my 1-year-old be following after her sister with her iPad and wanting the same thing? So now I'm getting 2 iPads, and it has its pros as well, because like you said, I can get a digital app on there and have her tracing as well. I can do it physical as well with a piece of paper and pencil, but sometimes just having her sit and learn it and understand it, it's a challenge. And, like you said, with the gaming and things like that, for me, I didn't have to do the schooling or the daycare or anything like that in a digital setting. But because I had a pandemic baby, I was able to have a birthday party on Zoom. So having the digital world is very helpful right now. And I think it's hard to really say, are you pro tech or against tech with the children and parenting, because it helps a lot. And it's something that I'm battling with just as much as you, trying to figure out what should I do with this tech, iPads, phones, everything in the computer world.
Well, thank both of you for the transparency there. I respect the honesty in that we're figuring it out. We're living in the moment. We're seeing what comes, what shows us what is revealing itself to us through technology, and how we can navigate these waters, as parents and community members who are helping to raise children. You started to speak a little bit about this, Bri, but I'd love to hear both of you touch on some creative ways that we can keep children engaged without using technology.
Yeah. So I think for me, what I did, obviously we were in the pandemic. So it's trying to figure out what can we do without technology. Of course, I use technology to Google some things, but once I got a little bit, we were making books. So I cut out little dinosaur shapes or little animals, and we were able to paste them and then give them the opportunity to scribble and say they're writing their own story. So now they're able to create a form of a book. We staple it, we color it, we glue it. So you're learning those hands-on activity, period, being able to cut, being able to paste, being able to draw. We did a lot of chalk. So we did chalk. I was able to put a board up in the house where it has pros and cons for that too, because now you think you can write all over the wall, but only in this one area. But being able to do that, painting, drawing. I have a printer at home, so printing out some worksheets, some tracing sheets. We did a lot of movie dates where we would get popcorn and just trying to just push them away from technology for some time, whether it's you only get the iPad for an hour or you only get it for the ending of the night or things like that, trying to keep them busy in the house to not just focus on the technology aspect or even hiding it. I would put it in a different spot because my 2-year-old, she'll climb up and find it. So being able to, we printed out books, we drew, we colored, we were able to have movie nights. It was so many different things that I had to find for us to do. And even going outside, taking walks, we would go pick up rocks and being able to build our own little flower pot in the back. So it took a lot of improvising and innovating with what we had in the house. We would go down the stairs. I saw on TikTok, we know TikTok was very popular. So going downstairs in the laundry basket, let's make a spaceship and just slide down safely. Like just finding fun things for them to do outside of the tech world is some of the things that I was able to find and have fun with the girls with.
Awesome. Leslie, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo that. I think that the hardest thing, at least for our family, is probably transitioning off of the screen. And I think that once you can get them into a different world, I would say they kind of get absorbed in that. So my son at least has a big imagination, and if we can get him into that imaginary play, it's amazing to see how it takes off. And even then, I can get him started with his toys. He has a ton of toys, too many toys still. And, he has, actually my mom has done an amazing job of saving toys for my brother. And so he has these like vintage Star Wars toys and He-Man toys, and we can set them up in his room and start to play. And once he gets absorbed in that world, I can kind of sneak away and he's playing still on his own. but you have to kind of get him going in some of those things. But again, also we're very lucky to live near a great park, and we started a play date group on Carefully with his classmates, and so we do that after. We were doing that after school. Once he went back to school, we were able to do that after school every day, and it was really great for me because normally I'm at work, but when I was picking him up from school with his other friends and getting to actually like see him playing outside in the playground with his friends, it was like very reminiscent of me when I was younger, playing, and they would dig in the dirt and make like mud pies and play tag. And they weren't even thinking about technology at that point. So kids are kids, right? And you just have to remove them into a different environment. But the toughest part is when the weather's bad, right? When it's a rainy day or in the winter, that's when you really have to dig down into your creative juices or have your like box of tricks. But when the weather's nice, it's easy, I think.
Yeah, we do the opposite of the rain dance, right? To try to get a sunny day out so we can spend some time in under the open sky. So let's dig deeper into the reality of what happened with this recent pandemic here. So this question that was submitted previous to the conversation reads, the pandemic has made it extremely difficult for working parents to balance homeschooling and their careers. What are some tips you'd like to give our audience members on how to balance work from home life and their child's education? Bri, let's start with you.
I would, good question, but my kids aren't in school yet. So I don't think balancing the school aspect I can speak on, but in the aspect of balancing just being a working parent, having to work from home, it's tough, right? So you're trying to find the time to not just sit on your computer and your kids are just playing on their own. So for me, what helped with me and my family is being able to say, okay, I'm going to dedicate this amount of time to work, and I'm going to, on my lunch break, I may have to sacrifice as a mom eating to have some time with my kids and let them see that, hey, mommy's still here, just give me a second. Or as soon as I finish work for the day, don't go on social media, don't go call your homegirl, don't call mom and them for a minute, dedicate that hour to take them to the park or spend longer bath times. I would just look at my schedule and try to figure out how can I balance this with my kids and not consume yourself 24/7 into work. And it can get hard because that's obviously how we're feeding our family. So we have to be able to choose, but it's really big scheduling. So being able to have that schedule and giving them that time. I'm really big at like giving color blocks. So being able to say during the red time, mommy's working. When it gets to yellow, it's time for us to go have fun or go play. When it gets to green, it's time for us to do something else. Blue means lunchtime, so being able to just get that schedule. I'm really big on a schedule as a mom. So having that schedule and that routine, I think will help a lot when it comes to balancing work and balancing being at home with your kids with such a situation that we've had like the pandemic.
Thank you for that. And Leslie, I'd love to hear your response. And if you could also highlight some of the things that Carefully app has been doing to just help parents in this situation.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, some construction just went on. I hope it's not too loud. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely second the lunches. I think one of the big challenges that I saw of working from home with your kids at home was your kids have, at least my son had a very difficult time understanding that I was working when I was at home too, and like really understanding that I wasn't able to always give him all the attention. And it was difficult to sort of make that sort of shift, even though he's 9 right here, he was 8 then. It's still very difficult even for somebody of that age to understand this is work. I have my desk, I have my computer, but I'm on a call, and he's like, you're talking to your friends all day long and you're not paying attention to me. So absolutely, like I would block my lunches and we would go for walks to the park, and I would sit down with him and really try to block my lunches for him, and that really helped a lot. Also, we had a board that where he would be able to like see his schedule and be able to kind of take some control of the things that he was doing. I mean, I also, because I was working on my own startup, I had a little bit more control over my schedule, which definitely helped in some respects. Carefully is all about parents helping parents and being able to kind of support each other and finding ways to share care within your community. So that's what our app is all about. And also, we also, during the pandemic specifically, we started offering virtual events and things like that. So even though you weren't able to share care, we were doing virtual cooking and yoga and things like that, which would help to entertain the kids so you could have a little bit of a break. Now we're focused more on the play dates, the group events, things like that parents can do with each other and within their community to support each other without having to take on the extra expense of paid for care.
Wow, so fascinating to hear both of your stories and just to see how, the common theme that you're speaking of, both of you, is, the art of setting boundaries and trying to find that balance, however you need to do, but also respecting yourself and, of course, your family while you are setting those boundaries. Let's pivot a little bit to speaking more about your career. So how can working parents still be, quote, good parents? I'd love for you all to give me what is your definition of a good parent as well? But how can working parents keep their career on track while still being good, quote unquote, parents? Bri, let's start with you.
So I think there is no real definition of a good parent. I don't think we can define that because I think we're all amazing parents in our own ways. And there's 1,000 ways to parent, right? So when we talk about the way to parent and balancing, can I work? Or can I only be a mom? It's really balance. It's really being able to allot the time for yourself, for your business, and for your kids. So separating those things, because what happens sometimes is we either put too much into work, not enough into family. Being a mom, you don't have 2 arms. You have like 10 because you're having to cook, you're having to clean, you're having to work, you're having to still be a mom and be a nurse, be a nurturer, be a provider. So you have so much going on that I think there's no real answer. And it sounds very like, you mean to tell me you don't have an answer for that? But it's really hard to give one because you really just have to balance your time and put in your work wherever you place it. So for me, and when it comes to working, I think I give myself enough time to get my business done. If I have to sacrifice those hours at night to do a lot of emailing or a lot of review and research, then I will do that to give myself the time for my kids in the day. Now, it still is also a boundary when it comes to how much time you can give to them, but being able to just separate it, being able to just balance it at your best way you can. I don't really know how to fully say what's a good mom, what's a bad mom, how to be able to balance, because we all have different schedules. We all have different parenting skills. So it's really just figuring out your niche, what works best for you, for your family, and for your kids is really just taking that time to dive deep into that. What's going to work best for me? I can't do it like Leslie. I may not be able to do it like someone else because that's just not my schedule or my lifestyle or the way that my parenting skills are. So just not being hard on yourself and taking the time to really figure out what's going to work best for you when it comes to balancing your career and balancing you as a parent.
Thank you for that. We've got about 5 more minutes. Just want to let everyone on the call know so that if you do have a question or reflection, you're listening live, we want to hear from you. But for now, Leslie, I'm going to pass the mic to you. So first, what is your definition, if there's a definition of a good parent? And then how can working parents keep their career on track?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, I echo what Bri was saying about that. There's not a definition of a perfect parent. I think that the challenge is that our society, especially in the U.S., puts a lot of pressure on working moms to be this. What I don't know if it's the perfect parent, but to be doing everything. And I think that was part of the reason that I did start. I made a decision to not go back to work, and I was privileged to be able to make that choice, last year, to decide to focus on carefully and try to invest in my own business because I didn't feel like I was able to get the balance that I needed. And there were a lot of other factors. Like as successful that as I was in my career, I wasn't, really happy. I was still not achieving that happiness, right? And we don't focus enough on, we focus on career success and not like happiness. And I think that when we think about how we want to live as a society, we have to change that definition of success to include some sort of happiness quotient, right? It's not just about your lifetime earning potential, but your lifetime happiness potential. And thinking about how we educate and raise our kids to value happiness as much as they value wealth. And it's hard, right? Because we still need that comfort and that to be happy too, right? We need security, financial security too. It's absolutely important. But when we overvalue that wealth creation, then we start to lose the happiness. And I think that's part of what I try to think about. Like I'm trying to unlearn some of those behaviors too every day, because I put so much pressure on myself to kind of be successful, even with carefully. But I'm definitely happier, and I can have more control over my life, which makes me a better parent. And I think that the whole conversation around childcare and working parents and working mothers is helping companies reevaluate that, but it's really how our society works. And so I think that's what I would say is that's the balance that you have to think about, is what's important to you in your life, and how can you create a life that achieves that balance. And so I'm working on it. I'm working on it every day, and I do think it's making me a better parent.
Again, I love the transparency there. And I just want to say, for folks who are, pivoting into a new career, or, they're very, overloaded, overworked, or underheard during this pandemic, I would love for you all to leave us, we've got about 2 or 3 minutes left, leave us with some food for thought for folks right now who might be going through some hard times, something to keep their, minds open, to know that they can empower themselves, that they have the right to do that. Leslie, leave us with some food for thoughts first here.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I was just saying is really my final thought, which is to start to think about what makes you happy, and how can you start to take small steps in your life to introduce that balance. Carefully is a great way to start connecting and sort of building your network and expanding it beyond. We talk about expanding it beyond your inner circle. A lot of people are not conditioned to ask for help, and carefully is about giving and getting. And if you start to build your community, you get a lot from giving help, but you also can support your community in a lot of different ways. And it's we're trying to create a mindset shift so people learn how to support their communities with childcare, and it'll grow from there. And so I would encourage people to sort of start to think about how the pandemic connected us with the community, with our communities through mutual aid, and how we can transfer that to how we think about childcare and parenting, and supporting our communities and connecting with our communities.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And Bri, last words from you.
Yes, I would definitely piggyback off of Leslie by saying, figure out what's best for you, what works best for you. There is no right or wrong way of parenting, because there's no book. We find a lot of books for a lot of things, successful businesses and how to be an entrepreneur and things like that. But parenting, there's no right or wrong way. So for me, my food of thought would be lighten up a little bit on yourself. Find what works best for you. Find what works best for your family. You can't compare to social media. You can't compare to friends or even family sometimes. You have to work with what you have and what's going to make your family work and what's going to make you happy. And just do not beat yourself up if something goes wrong, because in parenting, you're learning something every day. At every new age, at every new stage, there's something new that may have happened different with your first or your second, or it is only your first. And this is something new every time you do something. So literally just taking courtesy and loving yourself and respecting yourself and being able to just understand that you're a mom, you're a dad, you're awesome, you're amazing. You brought life into this world, whether, like I said, you gave the birth or you helped make the birth, whatever it is, you did something, and you can get through it. And we're going to all get through this. And I would say, get on carefully, because I actually just signed up myself because it was such an interesting app that I'm like, I love to learn and be able to share this experience and be a part of it. So log on to carefully as well.
Awesome. I love the camaraderie there. So thank you both for speaking today. Meg, I'm going to pass the mic back to you because I know we've got some awesome conversations lined up. So thank both of you and
Thank you so much.
yes, thank you.
Thank you. That was absolutely wonderful.